If you study for 5 hours today, your brain may start weakening much of that information within days unless you change one thing about how you study. You sit for 5 hours, you finish a topic, you feel sharp, confident, maybe even proud of yourself. You close the book and think, I have learned this. Then you walk into the exam hall and the answer that was there yesterday is simply gone. Not blurry, not half remembered, just missing. You study the way most people told you. You read, understand, highlight, reread. You did everything we told is good studying. And this is where neuroscience gets uncomfortable. You were never actually learning. You were creating a very convincing illusion of learning. You know, the medical student who has spent week rereading anatomy book lower on practical exam than those who tested themselves with flashcards, despite feeling far more prepared going in. So today let's understand why this keeps happening and how to completely change the way you study so knowledge actually stays. The real question isn't how do I study better, it's why does my brain keep erasing what I worked so hard to put in. Your brain doesn't delete information the way computer clear file. What it does is far more subtle. Neuronal connections that are not reactivated over time gradually lose strength, competing pathway that priority. This means your brain is not deleting study notes. It is doing something colder, deciding you probably won't need them. Think about your childhood phone number. You remember it perfectly because you dialed it hundreds of times. But your first email password simply gone, right? Because you stop using it the moment you switch provider. Your brain performs continuous resource optimization, and that is based on the ruthless questions. Will I need this again? If a memory isn't revisited or connected to future behavior, the brain quietly deprioritized. Not because it's useless, but because it is not contributing to your brain model of the world. Your brain stores what it expects to need. So forgetting is not the real story, retention is. The uncomfortable truth is your brain is not trying to preserve everything you learn. It is trying to preserve only that improves future prediction. And this is where most students fall into the bigger trap. Familiarity is not memory. The biggest study mistake is not distraction. It is the dangerous feeling that you understand. You read a chapter, understand it, reread it, and everything starts to feel smooth and familiar. And that feeling of ease tricks you. You mistake familiarity for mastery. Recognition is not a retrieval. This is a well-known metacognitive illusion in learning science. Familiarity is the enemy of real learning. You walk out thinking, I know everything now, but you have never tested whether you can produce the information from the scratch, without the book, without highlight, without any cues. If you can't retrieve information independently, your learning is likely incomplete or fragile. So what changes everything? One simple act. Close the book and try to reconstruct what you just learned. Explain it in your own words. Write it from the memory. Teach it on an imaginary friend. And here is the strange part. Even the failing to recall something strains memory more than rereading the material. You know, NASA uses this in the astronaut training. Trainees are deliberately tested on emergency procedure before they have fully studied them, because the struggle of near recall burns the protocol deeper than any amount of rereading the material. When recall fails, the mismatch between what you expected to know and what you actually retrieve generate a powerful prediction error signal. Your brain thought it knew the material. It didn't. You know, struggle is where memory begins. The mismatch sends a strong signal, a strong message. this matter, strengthen this connection, and this is the moment where real learning actually happens. Not when you understand, but when you realize you don't. The Roger Federer didn't develop his backhand by watching slow motion replay of it. He developed it by hitting thousands of balls that went into the net. Each miss a correction signal this body learned from. And that moment, dopamine activity don't simply signal reward. It reflects something more fundamental, a prediction update. Dopamine doesn't directly store information. It influences which neuronal connection get strength. Your brain is continuously asking, was I right about what I thought I knew? And when the answer is no, that's the exact computational moment where real learning becomes possible. It is learning. Don't consider struggle as a failure. It is the biological price of memory. Your brain is not built to store everything, right? It's built to keep what survives repetition. And that's why timing matters far more than total hours. Short, focused sessions followed by deliberate revisits are far more effective than long cramming. Each return forces your brain to rebuild the memory. When you study a single topic in isolation, your brain quickly adapts, recognize the pattern, and create a feeling of a smooth fluency. When you mix different topics instead, something more powerful happens. Your brain can no longer rely on repetition. It has to continuously re-evaluate which connection applies here, what rule is relevant now, and this is called interleaving. And research shows it significantly improves long-term retention. Yes, it feels worse in the moment. You feel slower, more confused, but what you gain is transferability, the ability to use your knowledge in a new and unfamiliar situation. And that is the difference between the scoring marks and developing real intelligence. And none of this works without the strong attention. The research from the University of Texas found that having your smartphone anywhere on your desk, even in silent, face down, even switched off, measurably reduced cognitive performance. Participants whose phones were in a separate room score over 11% better. The brain quietly drained resource just by resisting the urge to reach for it. Even a 10-second phone check can disrupt a neuronal pattern being formed, leaving the memory fragile and incomplete. So, the protecting deep, uninterrupted focus might be one of the highest leverage habits you can develop as a student. And here is one of the most beautiful truths in learning science. Your brain keeps working even after you stop studying. During the deep sleep, your hippocampus replays the pattern encountered during the day, helping stabilize and integrate new information with what you already know. So the sleep is not the rest after the learning, it is learning. And the skipping sleep after serious study makes that material significantly harder to recall. Sleep is not optional for the learning, it is a part of the process. And then your emotional state matter too. Moderate level of the curiosity, healthy challenge, and even a touch of excitement act as priority signal for the brain, increasing encoding strength and making memory more durable. However, chronic stress works against you as well. Sustained cortisol level interferes with hippocampal function over the time, reducing cognitive flexibility and making retrieval harder under pressure. So stress shifts the brain away from the reflection and integration and towards survival and reaction. So when you put all this together, what does optimized learning actually look like? It's not about reading more, highlighting more, or feeling like you understand more. It's about building a repeatable loop that works with your brain instead of against it. You encounter the information, you actually try to retrieve it without looking. You notice where you fail, you reconstruct it, you return to it after a delay. You let sleep consolidate it, then you repeat. Each time you successfully reconstruct the knowledge, you give your brain clear evidence that this information is worth keeping. You stop trying to feel like you know the material and start trying your brain to retrieve it under pressure. You move from the passive recognition to true ownership. This is not about working harder, it is about working smarter in alignment with how your brain actually functions. And once you understand these principles, studying stops feeling like a constant battle against forgetting and start feeling like building some things that truly lasts. So next time you finish a study session, don't ask whether you understood it. Ask yourself this instead: can I explain this from memory right now? If the answer is no, that's not failure. That's the beginning of your learning. Because the goal was never to feel like you know something. The goal was to make your brain unable to forget it. And maybe the real question is not how much you study, but what your brain will still choose to remember tomorrow. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.